Hello. Okay, we're back. Okay, so we have just finished case 4. We're kind of in between them now, in between 4 and 5. So we have 3 of the escapades that are going to take place during this like little gap between cases. So we're going to do those now. So it's probably going to be a shorter stream just because we're just doing the 3 escapades. We're going to leave the actual 5th case to the next time we stream this, which will be after Elden Ring. So it might be a little while. But yeah, let's jump in. I can't remember how long escapades are. I don't remember them being that long, really. But we are doing 3 of them back to back. So we have in Sholmes' suite at the Naruhodo Legal Consultancy and in Mr. Natsume's room. Oh, it just says like the location doesn't actually... Huh, they don't actually have like proper names. Interesting. Okay, and then these 2 escapades are after the 5th case. You know what? Let me just double check this, just to make sure I'm absolutely right. I know I checked this last time, but Greatest Attorney Escapades Order. Okay, so it's escapades 3, 4, and 5. And 6, so there's actually 4 escapades to do. 3 is marked as done. I think I may have started it by accident, but not actually done it, so there's actually 4 escapades we need to do. Okay. Glad I double checked that because we'd have missed one. The escapade takes place as Rainesuke and Susato visit Lord Strongheart to report the outcome of Mr. Natsume's trial. Yeah, okay. Alright, 4 escapades. Okay. Sure. Let's do it. Out of interest, if I... and then no. Okay, I didn't know if that cleared the exclamation mark and that was why this one didn't have one. Alright, let's get in there. February 26th. I don't remember any of the dates, so I don't remember when the last trial took place. Here we are again. Every time we visit here, the atmosphere in this place seems to get more and more overbearing. Just think, we could be at home with Mr. Sholmes and Iris having a nice cozy breakfast. But we have a duty to report the outcome of the case, especially since we're guests here in Britain. I'm afraid this visit couldn't have been avoided. I suppose not. But is there even anyone here? You could hear a pin drop in this place. It's too solemn for its own good. It is very quiet, isn't it? The only sound is the ticking of the great clock as it keeps perfect time. What was that, I wonder? The usual comforting sound of the clock seems to have been joined by a less comforting shuffling sound today. You're right. Something's disturbing the rhythmical ticking. It sounds rather like an unfit middle-aged man running from pillar to post, clumsily. Oh god, fuck. God damn. Trying to remember the voices I gave everyone. Who are you calling unfit? Oh, Inspector Gregson. What are you doing here? What am I? Well, ain't it flaming obvious? 58 seconds remaining, Inspector. We'll have to talk about this later, sunshine. Good morning, Lord Strongheart. Wow, he's really looking fiercely at his pocket watch today. And good morning to you. Business so early in the day? Oh, yes. Well, I mean, it's about the other day. We had to deliver a report, Lord Strongheart, as our dealings with Mr. Natsume are now over. I assume he already knows. Yeah, he's already got the report. Ah, yes, the little Japanese man. I've already cast my eyes over Van Zeek's report. I must say, the outcome surprised me. I thank you for a job well done. You're too kind, my lord. It's not here. It's not here. It's not over there either. I hope you don't mind me asking, but what exactly is the inspector doing? He's been harrying around between the bookshelves, looking beside himself with worry. He's looking for a particular work, The Lion's Pride. Now there's an all too familiar title. I heard it was a popular tale, so I obtained a copy from the rental library. However, it wasn't able to maintain my interest, so I soon cast it aside. I happened to notice a vacant spot on one of my shelves at the time, so I duly stowed the book there. Unfortunately, I no longer remember where that was. No, not here. Not here either. Come on, where are you lying hiding? The book is due back today, so I've asked Gregson to locate it for me with his investigative prowess. Inside 5 minutes. Kind of seems like a bit of abuse of Gregson's time. I must say I've never seen anyone working so hard to find something. He's like a man possessed. Ah, yes. That's because his month's salary is staked upon the outcome. Jesus. Whose instigation? Let me guess, this stony-faced lord. And the 5-minute time limit? What's the significance of that? There is none. Just my vulgar, mischievous spirit showing itself, I'm afraid. You're just fucking with him. You're just doing it to fuck with him. Oh, by your own admission. I can't. My feet are killing me. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up, Inspector. Which means that next month you will work unpaid and have no days off. What the fuck is this? No days off. There really are just so many books here. It's overwhelming. For some, perhaps. I've purchased every book, new or old, on the subject of law from all over the globe. Wouldn't have believed it a few short decades ago. A place like this couldn't have existed. What do you mean, Inspector? When I was a lad, no one ever dreamed of buying books. Oh, I see. Western books have are such luxurious items, I suppose, with their leather covers and fancy bindings. No, that's not it. Oh? There was a tax on paper, see? On paper? Yeah, I mean, it was abolished about 30 years back now, but it used to be the case. There was a tax levied on any kind of paper. So obviously, that meant most folks couldn't afford to buy books, couldn't afford to buy any books at all. Ah, so is that why places like the rental library you mentioned before came into existence, Long Strongheart? Indeed, vestiges of the paper tax system, you could say. The general public considers books as items for hire. London is home to a vast lending library of some 3.5 million books. You couldn't hope to read all of that, even if you were reincarnated 10,000 times. Even I would choose to rent a book rather than purchase it if I knew I would read it infrequently. The subject of taxes actually surprised us already in the last few days. It came up in Mr. Natsume's trial. It seems that the window in his room was filled in due to some kind of window tax. That would be true. Fortunately, the window tax was abolished here some 40 years ago. Sadly, in the East End in particular, many windowless houses remain. Britain's always had a bit of a thing for taxing stuff. Whatever they can tax, they tax. Sugar, salt, tea, coffee, you name it. Candles, beards. Wait, sorry? What was that last one? Did you say beards? Yup, the beard tax. Never heard of it? Never? Why should people have to pay money just because they let their facial hair grow? You may well ask. I suppose it's because it makes them look self-important. The Naruhodos will have strict family policy of no facial hair, I think. You can relax. The beard tax was confined to the annals of history long ago. Even so, it's clearly something the British really love. Paying taxes, I mean. Paying them? You got that back to front, sunshine? But you can't deny you've had a lot of funny taxes over the years. You never find anything like that in Japan. Would you, Mr. Sato? In actual fact, I'm afraid to say that you would, Mr. Naruhodo. What? No. You don't mean... Surely there's never been a window tax in Japan. No, but there have been similarly obscure taxes. For example, in the Edo period, there was a frontage tax. What was that? It was a tax not for windows, but for the entrance to the properties. The larger the property's entrance was, the greater the tax that was levied on it. Even today, some mansions survive with extremely narrow entrances due to that old form of taxation. I had no idea. So you Japanese are as twisted as us Brits. But we never had a beard tax. I mean, that's really gone a step too far. Well, no, that's true. I'm not aware of any taxes for beards, at least. What do you mean, at least? Well, rather than tax them, the shogunate did once prohibit them outright. The ruling class prohibited beards? It was called the Great Beard Prohibition, and it was an Edo period edict. But why did the powers that be want to ban beards? Because it makes people look self-important. Just an idea. It would seem that the rulers of the East and West have very similar ideas over the years. There have been other unusual taxes in our history, even in our current Meiji period. There have? For example, though it was before either of us were born, there was a rabbit tax. There was a tax on those adorable fluffy creatures, like the ones who make mochi sweets on the moon? Yes, and it was an extremely large tax too. The government demanded extraordinary sums of money. This just gets stranger and stranger. What was the reason for the bizarre tax then? Well, after Japan opened its doors to the world, there was an unprecedented rabbit boom in the Meiji capital. A boom? Yes, keeping rabbits became hugely popular, and new species were traded at exorbitant prices. People were even swindled out of all of their money for exotically coloured rabbits. Like coloured chicks, I suppose. Hard to imagine, no? Rabbits are so timid and quiet. Wouldn't have thought one could bankrupt you. So in response to this worrying social vogue, the government imposed a rabbit tax. I suppose they couldn't just ignore the problem. And it worked because the rabbit boom came to an abrupt end. 6 years later, the tax was abolished. Well, I hate to say it about my own country, but Japan is strange. But there's more. After the rabbit tax was abolished then, of course, Society reacted by launching straight into a second rabbit boom. Oh dear, the government didn't think that one through, did they? Your ideas about the world are very much altered by the position you hold in society. If you were responsible for running the country, you would feel the need to raise revenue keenly. Without a stable taxation system, the whole country would go down the drain. Well, yes, I suppose so. But some of these taxes... That's precisely why ministers of state use their wiles to invent new and novel ways of taxing the public. Novel ways? Tell me, Mr. Naruhodo, if you were one of my country's statesmen... Me? A British statesman? Yes. What novel tax would you impose? Pray, give us something truly original. Inside 5 seconds. What? Oh, think of something that everyone uses, Mr. Naruhodo, and really squeeze every penny out of the population. It's quite the intense stare. I'm very glad Mr. Sato isn't in charge. Your time is up. So, what's your answer? Well... Air, maybe? Yes, how about air? An air tax, you say? Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. A truly novel and fiendish idea. Well, everyone has to breathe. So while the population is inhaling air, my government is inhaling money. Blimey, you're a tyrant at heart, eh? A somewhat radical solution to the country's revenue problems, but sadly not an original one. No, you mean to say... Surely not. You mean a tax on air has already been imposed in the past? It was last century. The finance minister of our neighbour France proposed it. What? If I ever go for a visit, I'm holding my breath. Unsurprisingly, it was strongly opposed by the public and soon scrapped. The minister didn't last long either. Oh dear. Although clearly that would have been an untenable situation. The public at large are a force to be reckoned with. Don't I know it? How about you, Inspector? What new tax would you impose? Let me see. My first thought is a tax on objections. Sorry? Been hearing far too many of them recently in court. There's a particular lawyer I have in mind as it happens. So I think an objection tax could be very handy. Good to see you don't allow your personal feuds to influence your work in public office. I reckon 5 pence for every objection raised would be about right. A most amusing proposal, Gregson. A most unamusing proposal, my lord. Well then, I think it's your turn now. Sorry, my turn for what? Why, what else? To locate my missing copy of The Lion's Pride. Oh. It's on one of the shelves in this room, of that I am certain. Now, I shall give you 10 minutes. And let's stake your student stipend on it. Fail to find the book and you forfeit next month's payment. Objection! Your time starts now. Oh, and one more thing. I believe you just said the word objection. Kindly leave your 5 pence over there before you begin combing the shelves. This tax is going to be the death of me. Is that the end of the escapade? I think so, yeah. Oh, goofballs. These are all going to be silly goofball things, I guess. Alright, that was the first one down. That only took about 15 minutes. Like I said, this is going to be a shorter stream, even though we're doing 4 things. Does the second game... The second game doesn't have escapades, does it? No. Guess it was only the first. Alternate costumes were only for the second game. You know, let's just turn them on and leave them on so I forget. What's the auditorium? Is that just the music player? It is, yeah. Right, voice recitals?
Objection! Objection!
Okay, it's just those four. 6. Oh wow, you can even just do the... They even include like the unused ones. That's interesting. This is a special sound effect used exclusively to portray Wagahai, the cat getting caught up in Sholmes' violin. Non-visual scenes expressed only through audio are really worthwhile. There's even like little notes from the devs. Volunteer from the sound team allowed us to borrow a violin so we could record samples of it being tapped and scratched gently. A violin valued at around 1 million yen, by the way. That was a fun day. Huh. Oh, that's awesome. One of Sasato's lines that you won't hear voiced in the game.
Naruhodo-san, I never imagined I would witness one of Mr. Sholmes' great deductions with my own eyes. Nothing can deceive Mr. Sholmes. In a single glance, he can deduce all there is to know about a person. It's quite true. I've read about it countless times in the adventures of Sherlock Sholmes, and now I've experienced the astonishing impact of his art firsthand. It really is a dream come true.
Wow, that was so much longer than I was expecting. Cool. Might come back to some of those. Gallery. Yeah, you know, at some point I'm gonna have to have like a proper like dig through a bunch of these and just take a look. It's 7 Days of Sin. The Great Special Trial. Special Trial 2017. Okay, yeah, we're gonna have to like come back and take a look. Maybe once I finish like both games. Alright, Escapades, let's crack on. Sholmes is sweet. Good morning, Iris. Good morning, Mr. Sholmes. Oh, good morning, Susie. I'll get breakfast on the table for us all. Ah, Mr. Sholmes. Morning. Fuck, what fucking voice did I give him? Kind of hero-ish sounding, I think. Come now, why the long face? Oh, sorry. The thing is, I just had a rather strange envelope posted under my door this morning, with some rather strange things inside. What strange things? Ooh, what is it, Runo? Did you catch the scent of mystery in the air? Nothing so exciting, I'm afraid, Iris. It was just 5 orange pips. I can't imagine what could possibly... What? Orange pips, Mr. Naruhodo? And 5 of them? What's the matter with you? That's a bit of an overreaction, isn't it? An overreaction? Mr. Naruhodo, you don't understand. It's a warning, a notice of imminent danger to your life. What? To my life? What's the meaning of all this, Mr. Sholmes? My dear fellow, why do you make such an inquiry of me? Because the name of the sender was written on the envelope, and it was yours. Oh. You're right, Bruno. It says, sent by Sherlock Holmes, envoy of hell. Ha ha ha. So, my little ploy has been exposed. Well, so be it. Cast your mind back, if you will, Mr. Naruhodo, to the time of our dining last night. Oh, yes. Mr. Sato cooked some Japanese food for us. Indeed. In particular, you may recall the final norimaki sushi roll that I was about to savor. That is, before you swooped in with your clacking chopsticks and filched it right from under my nose. Oh, I assumed because you'd left it that you didn't want it. I'd left it, my dear fellow, because I planned to enjoy it as my very last mouthful. Surely you must have noted my intent by the subtle dilation of my right pupil. Perhaps a clearer sign would have been helpful next time. Just an idea? In summary, the post you received earlier is a notice of impending revenge. You may be quaking in your boots. You should be quaking in your boots. Really? Because I went straight out into the garden and planted them. I'm hopeful we may grow some exotic fruit. There's no point sending a notice of impending revenge if the person you send it to doesn't know what it is. Well, I knew, of course, because I've read this book. The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. On sale now in all major London bookshops and receiving rave reviews. Oh, yes, of course. It's finally been published, hasn't it? I hear it's selling very well. It is. 12 short stories in one volume. I've earned a lifetime spending money already. And it has further bolstered my name, in fact. Only the other day, a Bohemian king sought to engage my services. Really? That's extraordinary. Of course, the gentleman persisted with some pretense about being a fishmonger for the duration. Huh? But only a fool would presume to be able to deceive my eyes with such a charade. How did you know that he was a king, then? Why, there was no mystery, my dear fellow. The distant smell of fish accompanied the man's lowly apparel. And though he tried to hide it, the left side of his mustache quivered in quite a manifest manner. Oh, Mr. Sholmes. That's simply brilliant. Having neatly resolved the case for the man, I was sent a quantity of fish caught as a mark of his appreciation. I think perhaps you shouldn't discount the possibility that he actually was a fishmonger. Is that... Can anyone else smell burning? Oh yes, you're right. And look, smoke. I think maybe... Fire. There's a fire, everyone. Really? A fire? We must all leave at once. Everyone out of the building. No, wait, I have to go back to my room first. Are you deranged? If you're not asphyxiated by the smoke, the flames will burn you to death. But my Daruma doll, I can't let my Daruma burn. It means too much. Drat, sorry, but I'm gonna make a dash for it upstairs. Oh, Bruno, you're so funny. This is no time for jokes, Iris. Go, quickly, get out of here. But there is no fire. Is there, Hurley? Huh? What a delight. What a delight to see that ploy enacted in the flesh. I wouldn't have dared to dream I should be so lucky. Mr. Sato? Indeed it was a ploy. A devilment engineered by my pukish spirit. It was all a trick, but why? It was a simple experiment of the mind, Mr. Naruhodo. when his life is threatened, a fellow is compelled instinctively to protect that property to which he attaches matching importance. After your own life, Runo, the most important thing to you seems to be your Daruma doll. Let's not dwell on that, shall we, Iris? So, you knew all along, Mr. Sato, that it was a trick? Yes, of course. The very ploy is described in this book. The Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes. On sale now in all major London bookshops and receiving rave reviews. Not again. I've used that device quite satisfactorily in the past to solve a case. Oh yes, it was the great success, wasn't it? But then it became something of a habit, didn't it? You started yelling fire at every crime scene. Oh, she does the same, like, head finger flick that he does. Just realised that. I'm pretty sure she's done it before. But it's only just like... I've only just twigged onto it. In the end, people started pay no attention to you at all. Yes, that's quite true. There he goes. There was a time when I was known as Sholmes, the Sholmes who cried wolf. I think there's a lesson to be learnt in there somewhere. But sadly, my little ploy failed to yield results this time. Iris was utterly unmoved. What do you mean? Well, I was anticipating that Iris would immediately expose her secret hiding place. The location of the nest egg she must have cached somewhere in this room. Nest egg? You think Iris has some secret savings? Why, naturally. The book is selling like hotcakes after all. It's a simple deduction indeed to conclude that the profits must be concealed here within these walls. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, are you in need of money? Ah, I bet I know what it is. It's that new microscope that's gone on sale, isn't it, Hurley? What else? I have such a strong desire to own one, yet my purse is £1 too light. As no other offer of a loan has been forthcoming, I have been forced to resort to the alternate stratagem. Robbing a child. Hehe, Hurley. But I'm not falling for that. Not coming from the Sholmes who cried wolf. Ugh, how vexing. You really shouldn't be trying to steal a 10-year-old's savings, you know. Oh, anyway. My book is full of little tricks like that, you see. The armory of the great detective. Except that in this case, both the orange bibs and the fake fire fell a little flat, didn't they? Oh, I have plenty more tricks up my sleeve. Take, for example, the case of the Boscombe Valley mystery. I'm already filled with dread just from the title. It is a tale of extraordinary skill on the part of the great detective. The skill of tracking. Tracking? When I arrived at the scene of the crime in the eponymous valley, there were footprints everywhere. But my eye was immediately drawn to one set in particular. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, your detective instincts are truly remarkable. As you know, my dear madam, no detail, no matter how small, escapes the scrutiny of these eyes. So I tracked my quarry, following the trail of his footprints all the way to the man's place of residence. It led you directly to the culprit's house? What a triumph! You misunderstand. It led me directly to my own house, my dear fellow. Huh? For the footprints were, in the final analysis, those made by my own shoes. Hurley had left here for the Boscombe Valley as soon as he received the telegram about the case, you see. And then he followed his own trail straight back here to Baker Street. Now, Iris, please. You make it sound almost humdrum, but I assure you, it is no easy feat. Tracking of this nature is a skill possessed only by the great Sherlock Sholmes. You're right. It really is extraordinary. Quite so. Extraordinary is the word. And let it be the last on the subject. Anyway, Needless to say, I subsequently went on to solve the case with various other deductions. Yes, it's the various other deductions that I'm interested in. Ah, well, you shall have to read the book then. I'm sure Iris has penned it with her usual flourish. Oh, absolutely. I've put an ingenious spin on the great detective's exploits. It must have been very ingenious to make this man sound even remotely credible as a detective. Wait, is that... Does it smell like something's burning again? I've had enough with this devilment for one day, Mr. Sholmes. Put your pukish spirit to bed. I assure you, this has nothing to do with me or my spirit. What? Oh no, the smoke is getting thicker. You mean it's not a trick this time? That there really is a... Fire. There's a fire, everyone. Ah! Mr. Sato, where are you going? Stand aside, Mr. Naruto. Ah, easy, Mr. Sholmes. What are you... Mr. Sholmes? Why did he just chuck the bust of Napoleon out at the floor? On the floor. Oh, look at that. In amongst all the broken porcelain. Coins. Sovereigns, in fact. A whole pound each. Come, everyone. We must leave at once. Evacuate the building. You fell for it, Hurley. Hook, line, and sinker. Ah. Wait, you mean... Iris. I certainly wouldn't have guessed that you'd... I certainly wouldn't have guessed where you... I certainly wouldn't have guessed that's where you'd hidden it. Do you mean to say that this smoke was... My own pukish spirit needs to come out and play sometimes too, you know. What? Ah, of course. I know what it is, Iris. It's that indoor herb garden set that went on sale last week, isn't it? That's what you're after. I want one so desperately, but I'm £4 short. And even though you told me you didn't have any money to spare before, I knew you had a secret nest egg somewhere in this room. Ah, you've outwitted me again. You really shouldn't let yourself be outwitted by a 10-year-old child, you know. So thank you for the loan, Hurley. Oh, but wait. What's the matter? Where's Susie? She disappeared. Oh, yes, that's right. She ran off up the stairs before, didn't she? Oh, what are you all still doing here? We have to evacuate. It won't be long before the fire is... Ah. Sorry, Susie. Children will get up to mischief once in a while, you know, but it's all perfectly harmless. Harmless, maybe, but oh so devious. What did she go and grab? What did Susie go and grab? Oh well, at least nobody was hurt. Apart from Napoleon and my secret hoard. Now, tell us, Mrs. Sato, what is it that you went so fleet-footedly to fetch? Sorry? Oh, no, nothing. No, it's just... No, it's nothing. Susie, that's your notebook detailing all of Mr. Runo's trials, isn't it? It's bulging at the seams. Oh, what? Ah, a testament to the various people you've helped over the past months. Mr. Sato, well, I am your judicial assistant after all. I would do anything to ensure the safety of these records, even risk my life if necessary. I mean, it's very important to me. It's like a diary of everything we've achieved together. I'm getting all teary-eyed now. Yes, in stark contrast to a certain someone who would have fetched his Daruma doll, I must say. at the end. Yeah. So they said there that they've done like a couple of months worth of cases in trials, so I wonder if there's going to be like a significant time skip between case 4 and 5. I kind of assumed... I don't know, I just kind of assumed it would roll on. Because all of the previous cases have been fairly like quick after each other. Okay, Naruhodo's legal consultancy. Where Sasato appears to be rather irritated because it seems Ryunosuke has been buying a little too much bric-a-brac and now the whole place is brimming with things they don't need. And this latest purchase has really rocked the boat with Iris and Sasato. Oh, we're in March now. Hello? I'm back. Oh, hello, Mr. Naruhodo. Did you have a good outing? Hey, Reno. What's the matter? Your eyes are as big as dinner plates. Iris, I wasn't expecting to see you here. I've just made some tea, Mr. Naruhodo. Would you like a cup? A cup or two, yes. Definite tea. Haha. Alright, Muno, what's going on? You're acting extremely strangely. What, me? No, not at all. I'm as normal can be. Normal tea itself. Haha. Not again, Mr. Naruhodo. Sorry, not what again? What did you mean, Susie? Whenever he goes out on his own lately, he always seems to come back with a peculiar new purchase. Peculiar? Peculiar? There's nothing peculiar about the things I've bought. You seem to think that anything British is a curio you simply must have. You keep buying items of bric-a-brac even though you don't know what they are. Well, there's rather a lot of bric-a-brac shops and pawnbrokeries and the like around here. It's when I've been to the Lord Strongheart's to give my weekly report. I'm always so nervous beforehand. On the way home, I just find myself in those shops and... Yes, alright, I can't deny it, I bought something. You're right, you can't deny it, because your eyes are wider than ever. You really ought to put a warning sign about them. They're bigger than some potholes around here. It's hard to resist things in the bric-a-brac shop. It's also cheap. Mr. Sholmes has given me lots of useful advice on how to pick up real bargains. You must remember, Runar, that Hurley likes to have fun with you. Take his advice with a pinch of salt. Well, that's true. That thing he told me was a pot stand wasn't a pot stand at all. But I'd never have guessed it was a collapsible top hat. No, I'd never have guessed that you could fill... No, and I'd never have guessed that you could fill up this once empty room so quickly. Honestly, it's overflowing with things we don't need now. I mean, look at those scales. Not once have you weighed something on them. I know, but ever since I stood at the defense bench in court, I don't know why, but I've just really wanted my own little set of scales. Let's see then, Mr. Naruhodo. What have you come home with today? Oh, well, it's, one of these. What is it? It looks all dry and shriveled up in a ball. Really, Mr. Naruhodo? What is it? It's a sea anemone. An anemone? Yes, I mean, I know it doesn't look like it at the moment. It's all shriveled up, like you said. Aren't sea anemones living creatures? The ones that dance about on the seabed? Yes, exactly. The ones that dance about on the seabed. Oh, They sell sea anemones in bric-a-brac shops here in Britain. I don't know whether they normally do or not, but I do know that I bought one today. But why, Runo? Well, yes. For the aquarium, of course. Aquarium? I don't know that word. Well, according to the shopkeeper, keeping sea creatures in tanks was hugely popular here in London before. Oh yes, some people used to have beautiful fish in seawater tanks. That's true. Having an aquarium becomes popular because the old glass tax was abolished. Having an aquarium became popular because of the old tax. Okay. There it is again, rearing its ugly head, the subject of taxation. It was a real craze for a while. Everyone in London had one. For a while? Yeah, it didn't last long. People's enthusiasm soon waned. It's just far too much work to be changing the seawater regularly in a city like London. Never a truer word said, I'm sure. You'd think people would have realized that from the start, really, wouldn't you? Anyway, that was long before I was born. So now everyone jokes that there's an unloved aquarium covered in dust in every attic in the capital. And it's true, there's one in this attic too. When I told the man in the bric-a-brac shop about it, he had these words of wisdom. That's why this is an age of this is the age of the sea anemone. And that made a lot of sense to me. It made sense to you, did it? But Runo, this sea anemone is completely dried up. You just need to soak it in water overnight and it'll be as good as new. That's what the man said. I'm not sure it works the same way as dried wakame seaweed, Mr. Naruhodo. Once I've saved some money, I'm going to go buy some prawns to keep this little fellow company. Oh, how exciting! Your office will be teeming with life. Will it really? Britain is a funny country, though. I mean, a sea anemone craze? Well, they say people in glass houses about comments like these here, Mr. Naruhodo. Don't forget that there was a very curious rabbit craze in our own country not so very long ago. A mortifying chapter that the people will try to erase from the history books 100 years from now, I'm sure. You know, there was another craze as well before the aquarium one. Have you heard of the Wadian cases? What? No, I've definitely never heard of them. They were little glazed cases for growing plants indoors, I believe. Oh, I see. For plant lovers to raise their favorite tropical plants. That's right. Like different types of ferns. Ferns? Do you mean those rather dull plants with lots of fronds for leaves? They're not dull at all. Ferns are lovely plants. I think people wanted to recreate the exotic foliage of the tropics in their own homes. So they grew ferns? I mean, ferns, sea anemones. Londoners certainly have a knack for the obscure. Well, thinking about it, my grandfather loved the moss on his bonsai. He looked after it better than the trees. It seems the more obscure something is, the more it interests people. Maybe. Anyway, the Wadian's case craze didn't last very long. Now, most of those little glass cases are just gathering dust, I think. But haven't I seen one in your room, Iris? Oh, very observant of you, Susie. Yes, that's right. Mine's certainly not gathering dust. I grow tropical herbs in it. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, I really must ask you to stop all this frivolous buying of strange things. Yes, alright, sorry. It's just that, well, think about Mr. Sholmes's room. He has all sorts of peculiar trinkets lying about. Oh, well, yes, that's true, and they seem to be growing in number. Recently, I've noted a blowpipe, a few beryl crystals set in a twisted piece of gold, a gold-rimmed pince-nez. I spotted a small gramophone recorder in there the other day, so I slipped it onto the gramophone. But it was just a whispering voice saying, "Norbury," and nothing more. What could it possibly be about? Those are all mementos of cases Hurley solved over the years. Exactly. That's what I want to create in here. Just that sort of atmosphere. Ah, a room full of meaningful trinkets, each with their own unique history, you mean? Yes, that. I knew you'd understand, Mr. Sato. But, Mr. Naruhodo, none of the things you've brought for the room have any connection to any of our cases. Oh, don't they? Well, for example, take the splendid but rather well-beaten top hat. That wasn't used as evidence in any of the cases we've worked on, has it? Oh, so you have two top hats that you didn't. So you have two top hats if you don't count the collapsible one as well. No, the collapsible one is a pot stand. As far as I'm concerned, anyway. But the other day when we were in court, they were everywhere, weren't they? Top hats, I mean. Well, here in Britain, of course, they're a mark of a true gentleman. That's hardly surprising. If a man isn't wearing a top hat when he ventures outdoors, he'll be looked down upon. Gosh, it has very strict rules, doesn't it? The English gentleman's code. I've been wondering how I'd look in a top hat recently. After all, my university uniform is black as well, so I would think it would be very in keeping. Oh, what a good idea! Go on then, Bruno, try it on. The lesson here, I suppose, is that the juxtaposition of student and gentleman is just so strange and wrong. Well, I'd rather it didn't suit me anyway. I mean, these hats are ridiculous. I'd be willing to bet every foreigner who sees one of these for the first time thinks exactly the same thing. Why is that man wearing a chimney on his head? People in glass houses, remember, Bruno? What do you mean? Well, what about Japanese, oh god, how do you pronounce this? Shonmage top knots. Those haircuts are the real height of ridiculousness. True. At least you can take a hat off. Once you have a Shonmage, it's on your head for good. I'd be willing to bet every foreigner who sees a Shonmage for the first time thinks exactly the same thing. Why is that man wearing a cannon on his head? I suppose that's what it means to have different cultures, isn't it? On the subject of hats, the one Mr. Shums always wears is really strange, don't you think? I beg your pardon, Mr. Naruhodo? What a thing to say! That hat is the very essence of Mr. Shums. Yes, without his deerstalker, the great detective would be unrecognizable. It's called a deerstalker? That's a surprisingly swanky name. It's the hat of a hunter, just like that flat cap. Or just like the flat cap. I made up my mind long ago to visit Regent Street and buy one for myself. I'm not sure it's gonna fit over your hair. Well, I think it's perfect for a great detective who stalks his criminal quarry. What do you think is strange about it anyway? Well, you've seen it. It has two brims, one at the front and one at the back. Why do you need two brims on a hat? Surely the one on the front is enough, no? One moment, please. If you ask me, it's just Mr. Shums' madcap personality coming through. I bet it's so that he doesn't have to think about which way round he puts it on or something like that. Mr. Shums does not have a madcap personality. He always has a clear head. Deer stalkers were made for hunters who had to hide in thickets when they were stalking their prey. The brim at the back was designed to stop the stalks of plants scratching the backs of their necks. Oh, so that's the reason. Thank you, Iris, for educating us. Mr. Sholmes doesn't spend a lot of time in thickets, though, does he? Well, no. That's true. I'm telling you, it's just it's his impetuous personality. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it firmly. Ah, here you all are. Oh, good afternoon, Mr. Sholmes. I've not long since made some tea, Mr. Sholmes. Would you like a cup? I see I've come at a good time, Mr. Sato. Thank you. Now, I have something I should like you all to see. I've designed myself a brand new Great Detective's hat. What the? There's a brim. At the front and at the back. And at both sides. 4 brims in total. Your observation is quite correct, my dear madam. I'm a busy man, you see. But with this hat, whichever way I put it on, I shall always have it pointed the correct way. Oh. With my previous hat, I could, in an impetuous moment, wear it erroneously with the brims on either side. That's impressively clumsy, I would say. And I must regrettably say that I think your madcap theory was correct after all. But really, Mr. Sholmes, with brims on all 4 sides like that, wouldn't it just be better to wear a top hat instead? Oh yes, then however you put it on, you'd have a brim all round. What? That's true, so true. How could I have made so how could I have been so blinkered to this fact until now? Well, fortunately, I happen to have 2 top hats here. If you just lift the pot off it, you'd be welcome to try that hat. Oh my god, my brain is shutting down. If you just lift the pot off of it, you're welcome to try that hat. Oh my god, you're welcome to try that one there. Indeed I shall, my good fellow. Much obliged. Ha ha ha. Oh dear, Hurley, it looks terrible. More terrible than I could have possibly imagined. Oh, that's not good. Maybe it's because of your long face paired with the tall hat. It just doesn't work. Well, I think it's very nice, Mr. Sholmes, even if it will have the whole world in fits of laughter. Ugh. I should never have meddled with it. Give me a deer stalker for everyone, forevermore. Give me my regulation university hat forevermore. There's still hope that you'll graduate one day, Mr. Naruhodo. Don't give up. And that's the 3rd one down. Oh, it's all silly nonsense. Alright, last one. In this escapade in Mr. Natsume's room, it's revealed that the Japanese scholar was once a teacher of English. He has much to say on the cultural differences between Japan and Britain, as well as on sentimentality, Shakespeare, and cycling. Okay. (23rd of February), so we've gone back in time a little bit from the last scene. So, Mr. Natsume, are you really returning home to Japan? Yes, indeed I am. Everything is arranged already. Well, I'd be sad to see you go. And after Runo worked so hard to prove your innocence as well. What a shame. It feels like it was all a wasted effort. Don't say that. I know what you're suggesting. Now calm down, Mr. Natsume. It's all fine, really. You're in good company here, sir. If you fear the Reaper, you needn't hide the fact. I'm a proud citizen of the Empire of Japan. I'm not a scaredy cat. Talking of cats, Mr. Sholmes just casually threw one among the pigeons here. A man like me belongs in Japan, not here. That's what I've come to realize. I wonder. A mustache such as yours is eminently suited to London, I would say. There goes Mr. Sholmes throwing another cat in. The moment I arrived in the city, I noticed. Everyone in London laughs at me behind my back like hyenas. Hysterically, hyenas, ha ha, horribly. I'm sure that's not true, Mr. Natsume. Oh, but it is. Whenever I turn around and peer down the fog-filled streets, all I see is foreigners everywhere. Well, there's you, Mr. Bruno. And Susie in here, so that's 3 foreigners out of 5 people. I take your point. Only the other day, I was taking a stroll through the fog as usual, when a young man approached me from ahead. He was pale and gaunt, his eyes arched like a cat. Observing his wretchedness moved me so deeply. Ah, I thought to myself, I'm not the only one suffering in this hell. But, do you know what? Can you imagine? It was just my own reflection in the shop window. A stunning, stinging, stupefying surprise. Don't forget slap in the face. Everyone started laughing at me. Gentlemen thereabouts, ladies passing by. Even the man in the shop window. Ah, yes. And a certain great detective would like to be included among the mirthful. Mr. Sholmes is really going for Soseki-san today. Well, I for one think you're very handsome man, Mr. Natsume. There, did you hear that? This 10-year-old girl thinks you're handsome. Isn't that wonderful? That makes me feel suspiciously warm inside. He looks genuinely delighted. The point is, we Japanese are humble and modest. Studying on foreign soil, surrounded by foreign people, how could anyone possibly enjoy that? No one could. It's impossible. If you're a genuine Japanese. If you say so. Actually, it would appear that there is someone. A Japanese man who studied in a foreign country and seems to have thrived on the experience. There is? Mr. Ogai Mori. I believe he studied in Germany. Mr. Mori? Pray, tell us more of this fellow. Well, today he's a very successful author in Japan. Oh, I've heard of him. He's the professor who wrote My Hime, isn't he? My Hime? I suppose in English the title would be Dancing Queen, maybe. Oh, I see. A tale of a woman who waltzed her way through the world, perhaps. Oh, that was the wrong voice for Iris. Never mind. You really needn't make up silly translation. Translation, you know. It's already officially called The Dancing Girl in English. It seems Mr. Mori greatly enjoyed his time in Germany. He became close with a local lady while he was there. Close, you say? With a local lady? A compatriot's criminally contradictory conduct. Well, I suppose your experience of studying abroad depends on large extent on your character. As they say, many men, many minds. Mr. Mori has an open mind, Mr. Natsume a closed one. Possibly a slightly black and white view, don't you think, Mr. Sholmes? Well, anyway, if that's how you feel about being abroad, why did you choose to study here? Wasn't it to further our nation's understanding of the English language or something? Yes, that's right. So what were you doing in Japan before you came to Great Britain then? I was a school teacher of English, of course. bit cursory perhaps, but I've managed to discover some information about Mr. Natsume's teaching days. That's just a little outside the field of law, isn't it, Mr. Sato? Well, let me pose you a question, Mr. Naruhodo. If you had to translate the English phrase "I love you" into Japanese, what would it become? That's easy. Ashitaru or Seki desu? Or Suki desu? Wrong. According to Mr. Natsume's teachings, at least. What? Would you like to explain, Mr. Natsume? Yes, of course. Your research was very thorough. I always used to tell my students that we Japanese don't express ourselves that way. Rather, we must say, Suki ga kieru desu ne. My dear Mr. Natsume, I must interject. Oh my god, what that would translate as "the moon is beautiful," isn't it? I know that. The point is that we Japanese are reticent when it comes to expressing our emotions. We prefer to show our feelings of adoration, our Suki, through by appreciating the beauty of the moon, the Tsuki. Ah, using the Tsuki to express Suki. That's an amusing play on words, I see. No, or in our language you might understand better. Bad shows. It's not a play on words. It's subtle. It's humble. It's fleeting and beautiful. It's art. Isn't it just being shy? Ah. My dear fellow, I thought he was going to say more. That's why I was waiting. That's why I gave a little pause there. I thought he was going to say something after the "ah." I was expecting more text to just start scrolling, but no. My dear fellow, the foreign dancing girl will forever be out of your reach with such an attitude. Imagine how the great Mr. Mori would act. He would win the lady's heart in a flash, with a well-placed and unrestrained "I love you." That smooth Mr. Mori. Am I destined to live in his shadow forever? Just what sort of man is he in that imagination of yours? The fact is, I can't settle in this foggy London town with all its foreign inhabitants. I've lost count of the number of different lodgings I've tried before I found myself here. As it happens, I even lived on Baker Street at one time. No, really? A Sow scholar lived near there, a man by the name of William James Craig. His knowledge of Sow is unsurpassed. He's been a great inspiration to me over the... Forgive the interruption, but am I supposed to be familiar with this Sow of which you speak? It's Shakespeare, of course, Shakespeare. But in Japanese we write it as Sa-o. It's a phonetic representation of using the kanji characters. So England is Igirisu and America is America. Come to think of it, we use the same character as ri in the word and risu in another. Talk about confusing. So Shakespeare is Sa-o in Japanese. Presumably the Sa is a brutal attempt at the first Sha. In which case, where is the oh my god, this is fucking weird to read out loud. Where is the Ixpear? Never thought of that. We only have the O left. Which could, even in the most charitable interpretation, only be a brutal attempt at old man. It seems to me that whoever had the job of deciding on the characters for his name got bored very early on. Complete kanji character catastrophe. So then, onto the burning question. What about me? How do you write my name? Sorry? Herlock Sholmes, my dear fellow. There must be a Japanese characters for my name. Oh dear. I'm sorry, Mr. Sholmes, but none exist that I'm aware of. What? Am I really nothing to you, Japanese? In that case, it is a matter of paramount importance. You must construct my name in kanji at once. Oh, well... If we could use the kanji that's pronounced so to start with, then use one more to give so, perhaps? I think that would be about right, Mr. Sholmes. But that's almost the same as Sao, isn't it? Yes, you employed the dreaded O. I don't want people to confuse me with an old man who died centuries ago. I'm sure the world's greatest literary figure would rather not be confused with you either. Well, the world's greatest detective is still youthful and full of vigor, so how about so handsome? Oh yes, that sounds wonderful. I'm sure everyone would be calling you that 100 years from now. How can she say that with a straight face? What about me then? Iris? Perhaps Ahime? Since the second character doesn't seem to matter? Ahime, yes, Princess of Love. That's an adorable name for you, Iris. Stop, please. With a name like that, Mr. Mori is likely to turn up at any moment and rashly declare, I love you. This Mori-san has become quite the character in Sasaki-san's mind. And you, Mr. Naruhodo, might I venture Kurobozo as a name fitting for you, as in the Dark Monk? Oh, that's very good. It describes you perfectly, Runo. You think I'll be wearing this black varsity uniform for the rest of my days, do you? But Mr. Naruhodo already has a Japanese name. I don't believe he needs another. Well, anyway. We were finally talking about your life here in London, weren't we, Mr. Natsume? You should just get out and have fun. The landlady said as much to me too. Mrs. Garrideb? But it wasn't fun at all. It was frightful. Whatever do you mean? A cycle incident. An incident? On a bicycle? Oh yes, come to think of it. There's an old bicycle parked out just outside, isn't there? It's in a sorry state though. I tried to say no to her, but she insisted I took it for a ride. Perhaps my pronunciation was wrong. So I took my life into my hands and attempted to ride the steel spider-webbed stallion to a nearby park. I really didn't think there's anything wrong with your pronunciation. I don't think there's anything wrong with your pronunciation, Mr. Natsume. Joan Garrideb just isn't the kind of woman to take no for an answer. If you're going to die, you may as well die in beautiful surroundings, so the park was my first choice. After a whole day of dicing with death, I am emerged with only relatively minor bruises. So, you got the knack of it. Don't be silly. Dying isn't something you can learn to do. Mr. Natsume, you keep talking about dicing with death and dying and so forth, but riding a bicycle is supposed to be fun. Oh no, that's just what people tell you. But it's an old wives' tale. It is? I mean, just consider the real name of the vehicle. It's not called a dicycle for nothing. How anyone suspects to use such an aptly named vehicle to move forwards is beyond me. Pedal, power, promises pain. I didn't think it was possible to get worse with practice. I'm lucky to be alive. Although, I must say, after looking death in the eye for a whole week, I did at least manage to mount the steed reliably. And notwithstanding a few wobblers, I found I could make progress in the forward direction. What a triumph. Deduction is much the same. When first presented with a problem, the mental exertion of trying to solve it only leads to bitter disappointment. But after a week of picking away But after a week of picking one's way carefully through the path of reasoning and thought, one begins to see results. So, is that why all of your off-the-cuff deductions always seem half-baked? What a wonderful insight into your extraordinary mind, Mr. Sholmes. Unfortunately, after wobbling down the street, I noticed there were little stones everywhere, death traps. Not that way, I said to myself. But the wild vehicle wouldn't listen. It wobbled me on and on down the street. So, of course, I hit one of those deadly stones and the crazy cult threw me. It's just my luck. Dicicles are the epitome of my pitiful life. I wish I could disagree. On the same subject, I'm sure there's a famous American author who's written about having a similar experience. Oh yes, I've read that essay too, Iris. Some of us are better read than others. Well, no more dicicles for me. Oh, Mr. Natsume, at least you have an interesting anecdote to take with you back to Japan, if nothing else. You always manage to put a positive spin on things, don't you, Mr. Sato? Personally, I haven't mounted a bicycle for some time. No, me neither. That's good. So how about a jaunt? We shall all ride out together. Huh? That sounds great. I'll perch behind Mr. Sato. But, the sun is going down. It'll be pitch black before long. London street lamps are very bright, you know, and the fog isn't too thick today. And my beloved ride is all bent out of shape. My dear fellow, you are bound to topple the vehicle anyway. It's fitting that it's already bent out of shape. It's settled then. Come along, Mr. Natsume. Shall we go? Tsukigakiru... Oh my god. Tsukigakiru desune. Don't tell me that's the translation of no thank you as well. Indeed, Mr. Natsume, the moon is at its most beautiful at precisely this time in the evening. Oh. We're not Japanese. You can't beat around the bush with us. What a weird and wonderful world. What a weird and wonderful side story. Alright. That's us done with these 4. These 2 take place after the next case, apparently. So they take place between games. Before we wrap up, I actually want to take a look at something. There was the chalkboard in Iris's... Ah, shit. I wanted to... Because there's a trophy for reading the chalkboard. Every time... I like doing every interaction with the chalkboard in... Sholmes' office. I did the first one, but there was 2 opportunities to interact with it, so... There's a conversation that we've basically missed. So hopefully, I can't remember how quickly we can get back there. Is there a faster skip option? If I hit options, is there a... Enable or disable the skipping of unread text in the main game. No, we don't want to skip unread text. And that's at the shortest possible, okay. Alright. Hopefully this is worth it. Probably not going to be, but... Oh man, this dude is a piece of work. Okay, we can't move yet, so... Like it's a flashing lights warning, I guess. If anyone watching this might have a problem with the flashing lights. I think from this conversation we can go straight to Sholmes' place. I'll have to be more careful in the future to get off the like limited time interaction things. Right, ask about Sholmes. So I think after this we get the option of going to Sholmes' place or the crime scene, so we can just go straight to Sholmes, I think. Again. I know this is like a fast forward thing, but I wish there was like a better fast forward that could like really just speed through this stuff. God, how long was this conversation? Jesus. Right, move. Okay, yeah, no. Okay. You know what, that's probably something I'm just going to do for myself. Because whatever the conversation, the interaction is, it's probably not going to be that interesting. I might record it. Since PS5 has a built-in record thingamajigs. Because we're going to have to go through all of the Briar Road stuff, then we go, yeah, it's kind of not worth it. So yeah, we will wrap up here for today then. As I said, it was going to be a short one. Because we were just doing a few escapades in between cases. After this, we'll be pretty much hammering Elden Ring until that's done, and then we'll come back and do the 5th case. And then I'll have to figure out what I'm gonna do after finishing off all of the FromSoft stuff. Actually, don't know. I don't have a plan for that. But yeah, that is going to be it for today. I'll probably be back tomorrow or Sunday. Because it's Friday today, isn't it? Yeah, it's Friday today. So yeah, back either tomorrow or Sunday with some more Elden Ring. We'll be hitting up Leonia. Yeah, that is going to be it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers. Bye.